Chairman Smith and Ranking Member Bass, it's an honor to testify before you today on the upcoming elections in Zimbabwe and the prospects for genuine democratic reform following the end of President Mugabe's 37-year rule. I work for the International Republican Institute, which is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that is committed to advancing freedom and democracy worldwide. Since the early 1990s, IRI has supported pro-democracy activists in their struggle to bring real and lasting democratic reform to Zimbabwe. Over the course of the last few months, Zimbabwe has turned a page in its history. On the evening of November 14th, several leaders within the Zimbabwe Defense Forces led a coup against the government of President Robert Mugabe, which ended in his resignation a few days later. Then, just 2 weeks ago today, opposition leader and former Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai succumbed to his battle with cancer. The departure of both Mugabe and Tsvangirai has upset the political order, and while some see the present situation as an opportunity for positive change, it's also a very fragile period for the country. ZANU-PF remains in full control of Zimbabwe's governing institutions and chose former Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa to serve as the country's third president. Mnangagwa's reputation precedes him, leaving many, including myself, skeptical of the prospect for genuine democratic reform under his leadership. One of his first acts as president, for instance, was to appoint a 22-member cabinet that included ZANU-PF hardliners and several military leaders who led the coup to put him in power. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe's fractured political opposition is represented by several loose and evolving coalitions of political parties from both the historical opposition, including Tsvangirai's MDCT, and defectors from ZANU-PF, including Joyce Majuru. To date, the three main opposition coalitions, which include the MDC Alliance, the People's Rainbow Coalition, and CODE, have been unable to unite under a single cohesive electoral and governing coalition. According to Zimbabwe's 2013 constitution, bearing a dissolution of parliament, the 2018 elections must occur between July 23rd and August 22nd. In recent statements, though, President Mnangagwa indicated the elections would occur before July and that they would be free, fair, credible, and free of violence. However, in observing the biometric voter registration process that began on September 14th, the Zimbabwe Election Support Network, or ZESN, indicated that turnout for the registration process was low, particularly among young people. The group cited limited voter education, intimidation of registrants, and misrepresentation of ID requirements as contributing factors to low turnout. The challenge of high rates of voter illiteracy must be addressed through extensive voter education efforts in the lead-up to Election Day. However, the short and still unannounced electoral timeline, combined with the challenges of misinformation, fears of violence, and the historical legacy of election fraud, makes all of this a significant undertaking. Additionally, the environment in which campaigns and elections occur must be conducive to genuine political competition. For this to happen, several laws in Zimbabwe used to limit freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and freedom of the press, and also restrict access to information must be repealed or reformed to align with the 2013 Constitution. Finally, the importance of a viable opposition capable of competing in the electoral process cannot be understated. A critical benchmark for the opposition in the coming elections is the prevention of a supermajority in the National Assembly to prevent, among other things, amendment to the Constitution that would restrict political space and fundamental freedoms or grant additional powers to the presidency. It is vital that the U.S. stand by the Zimbabwean people in the movement for democratic reform in this period of transition. And with that goal in mind, I'd like to offer the following recommendations. First, the United States must be ardent in its support for free and fair elections. The citizen movements of last year are evidence of the strong desire for genuine change. The current government lacks electoral legitimacy and has a stated interest in returning to a full constitutional order. Considering this alignment of interests, the U.S. must redouble its efforts to work with our Zimbabwean and regional partners, namely SADC and the African Union, to stand for nothing less than a transition to democratic rule. Relatedly, and over the longer term, the U.S. and our democratic allies must provide support to foster a competitive multi-party political system and the establishment of democratic institutions in Zimbabwe. This would include judicial, criminal justice, and security reform, opening the information space, the full implementation of the 2013 Constitution, responsive and participatory governance and service delivery, and a legitimate truth and reconciliation process. Third, the United States should be prepared for numerous scenarios in a post-Mugabe era. ZANU-PF and the military complex that plays an increasingly visible role in the political party has everything to lose from a shift in the power dynamics of the country. Political repression and disregard for fundamental human and political rights is an ongoing problem in Zimbabwe, and we need to be vigilant under the new dispensation in the lead up to and following elections. And finally, the United States must hold the line with targeted sanctions and within international financial institutions. This is our strongest point of leverage in the push for democratic reform and respect for fundamental human rights and freedoms. Reforms must be required as a precondition for lending and debt or sanctions relief. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions.